I am 71 years old. This experience happened when I was 25 years old. My friend lived in another city. He invited me to his wedding. I had planned to spend 3 days at my friend's place. But on the second day, my sister called to tell me that my grandfather was in the hospital because of a heart attack. My friend told me to go back tomorrow. It was too late and too dangerous to drive. I refused my friend's suggestion. I left at around 2 a.m. The road was not yet a highway at that time. A pickup truck was driving from the opposite direction. It was driving in my lane and had its high beams on. I swerved to the right, but the road was too narrow and I hit the car head-on. My car spun around a few times and fell into the field next to me. I was hurt very badly. But fortunately, a few minutes later, a bus passed by and saw the scene of the accident. They took me to a small hospital nearby. At the hospital, the doctors started treating me immediately. I felt a lot of pain all over my body. As I lay on the bed in the operating room, all kinds of thoughts came to my mind. I was disappointed with everything and everyone. I felt like the world and my life were in complete chaos. My mind was filled with complaints and anger. I wasn't under anesthesia or in a coma for a while. I was tormented by unbearable pain. Suddenly, I felt everything change and a calmness engulfed me. This feeling was the opposite of what I had felt a few minutes before. I felt that everything was perfect. Now I could feel what others were thinking. I could feel the nurse's tension and concern. The nurse was thinking, "How sad that this young man is dying like this." I tried to pat this nurse. I wanted to tell her, "I'm fine." But my hand just went through her shoulder without any resistance. As soon as I thought of my mother, I immediately appeared in front of her. She was washing some vegetables and preparing the ingredients for dinner. This phenomenon is hard to explain. I was in two places at the same time. I wanted to hug her from behind. But my hand went straight through her body. I tried to talk to her, but she didn't notice me. During this time, I also visited friends and relatives. I thought about one of my teachers, whom I liked very much in high school. Suddenly I was there for him and I could immediately see all his thoughts and feelings. He is not doing well in his life right now and he is having financial problems. I could also sense that he was also in poor health lately. I tried to communicate with the people I was visiting and let them know I was there, but it was no use. No one could hear or see me. Meanwhile, I saw everything that was happening in the hospital. The doctor declared me dead. Some note was written on my medical record that the resuscitation was unsuccessful. They put a sheet over my face and moved me to another room. At some point, I went very quickly through a tunnel toward a bright light at the end of the tunnel. I can't say exactly when this happened in my experience because time has lost its meaning. I went to a very mysterious place which was made of light. I felt like that was my real home and that I belonged there. Everything you feel is important loses its meaning here. Everything seemed absolutely perfect. There are other souls there, too. Every soul is different. Some will be bigger or brighter. Because everyone has different abilities and growth. When I visited my mother, I felt a person following me all the time. At the time I was so immersed in a wonderful trip that I didn't notice that person. Eventually I noticed him, and he was a divine person. He loved me deeply and unconditionally. I realized that he was with me all the time and that he was my guide. My guide showed me something. I saw a man who had great authority on earth. After this man died, his spirit used to go to the office where he used to work. He tried to sign some documents on his desk, but his signature did not leave any trace. He did not realize that he was dead. Sometimes these spirits follow their loved ones around like shadows. Some would beg their family's forgiveness. Others just wanted to stay close to them. But it didn't work, because the relatives couldn't feel his presence. Then he showed me another scene, which was from my own life. The scenes were in chronological order, starting from the moment my life was formed. I saw a young woman who was pregnant, and she was my mother. I see me as a small child when our family was traveling by car. There was a river not far from the road, and I was going to carry some water from that river in a bucket. On the way back I felt that the bucket was too heavy and I decided to dump some of the water. I noticed a tree on a dry patch of land. I worked my way over to the tree and poured some water at the roots. The wizard told me, "We are proud of you." This was strange to me because I didn't think it was a big deal. I think I've done more meaningful things. I also saw another scene. A boy was in physical and emotional pain. He had been drinking a lot and was drunk on the side of the road. The negative energy he was giving off affected everything around him. Even the plants and animals got this negative energy from him, and this negative energy spread all the way to the whole universe. I saw that all things are alive, and we divide things into two categories, alive and inanimate. Virtually everything is alive. When the man returned home, I saw the effect his state had on his parents. His parents were even more worried when their son was not at home. I prayed to my guide to let me stay here. I wanted to stay in the world of love and peace. He reminded me, "I have many tasks on earth." I refused to return. He told me, "If I return to earth, I will help many people who are lost." When I realized how much I could help other people, I couldn't wait to return to earth. I have been hiding my experience from others, because whenever I talked about it, I faced ridicule and negative comments. I was also fired from my company because of this incident. In recent years, more and more people in the society know and accept this phenomenon. People are more and more willing to hear my story. Unlike in the past, young people now show more interest in my experience. I know that there are still many people who question the veracity of the story. I myself feel that as long as I have a positive impact on society and give hope to those who are lost, that is the biggest point of sharing my story. This is the end of the first story today. After you listen to it, feel free to tell me what you think in the comment section. The next story is from a woman. Let's hear her story together. My husband and I have been married for 3 years and we have always wanted to have children, but we have been unable to do so. We decided to go to another city to see a doctor. This doctor was referred by my friend. We drove for 5 hours and finally met this doctor. The doctor recommended that I have a laparoscopic surgery first. We soon set a time for the surgery. To the doctor, it was a very common surgery. I didn't talk to my family about having the surgery because I didn't want them to worry. The doctor told me it was only a minor surgery and that I would be able to go home soon. When the surgery was over, I saw my husband sitting next to me. The nurse came in and told me, I need to drink some water. When I tried to sit up, I felt like I couldn't do it. I told the nurse about the situation and she looked worried. I was taken to another ward for observation. After a short time in the ward, I was transferred to the intensive care unit. I saw many doctors gathered around me. They told me I had an internal bleeding. It needed immediate attention. My family also rushed to the hospital. My family was praying for me the whole time. For the next 5 days, I was fighting for my life. As time went on, my body became weaker and weaker. While I was still conscious, I heard doctors talking about my condition. They couldn't do surgery because the function of my organs was shutting down rapidly. They tried medications to stop the bleeding and kept giving me blood transfusions. When the doctors had done all they could do, they held a family meeting. The doctors told my family that they had done the best they could. They gave me 3 hours to recover, and if I didn't get any better in 3 hours, my family was going to have a tough decision to make. I don't know how long I was in a coma. When I opened my eyes again, there was a man standing in front of me. I knew he was Jesus. I said, "You are Jesus, aren't you?" He didn't answer me. Just gave me a smile, and I already had the answer in my mind. We walked along the river for a while and we talked for a long time. I loved everything there. Jesus and I didn't communicate verbally. It felt like he knew what I was thinking, and when I had a question, I could get the answer right away. I saw his eyes, and they were the most beautiful color I had ever seen. They were light brown and the eyes shone with love. I asked Jesus, "What do you do in heaven?" He looked at me with a smile that human words cannot describe. He said, "I do what the Father asks me to do." Then he showed me an army of angels. They radiated a white light. They stood in the distance with a dazzling light shining around them. As we returned the way we came, I saw many people passing through a gate. They looked dull. But after passing through that door, they were dressed in white. I looked at Jesus and asked him if this was the way to heaven. He smiled and said, "Yes." I then asked, "Can I go there now?" Jesus said, "Yes, you can go." Jesus asked me, "Are you ready?" I said, "Yes, I am ready." At this point I said, "I want my husband to come with me." Jesus smiled lovingly and said, "Your husband's time is not up yet, he can't go with you." I looked at Jesus and said, "I want to be with my husband. That's why I don't want to go to heaven alone." Then Jesus took my hands and turned my palms upward. He said, "I want you to remember something. You are a child of God. God loves every one of his children. God is also at your side at all times." I said, "Yes, I understand." Then he said, "Now you can go back. Your family is still worried about you." I went back to my body. I learned a lot from this experience. Satan and the devil are real, too. Heaven is real. The devil cannot appear in the presence of Jesus. When Jesus appears, they will retreat into darkness.